Before we start, hit subscribe and drop comment if you love these stories. All right, today's one is absolutely crazy. Let's dive in.
Today's story follows a husband who finally realized why his wife kept him at arm's length. Her so-called exhaustion vanished the moment another man showed up. And when he saw the truth with his own eyes, their perfect marriage act collapsed instantly. It only gets darker from here. From the moment vows are exchanged, some individuals perceive matrimony as a lifelong confinement, a sentence to be served rather than a shared journey. My wife certainly was among them, and she expressed this conviction with unflinching candor. It began subtly, scattered remarks about how her unattached friends appeared infinitely more content and unburdened, speaking of their freedom to venture out at whim, to linger in bed through weekend mornings, to spend their earnings on whatever captured their passing fancy. Initially, I dismissed these comments. Does not everyone voice discontent occasionally? After all, marriage is not perpetually bathed in golden light and graced by rainbows. Yet gradually her discontent deepened. It grew far more pronounced. Look at Miranda, she would declare scrolling through social media for what seemed the 100th time that day. She's vacationing in Cancun this weekend with her friends. When was the last time? Deliberate sip of my wine. Set the glass down with care and smiled. You know something? You might be correct. She blinked, clearly unprepared for this response. What? You might be absolutely right about single women having superior lives. Perhaps it is time you discovered this for yourself. The bewilderment on her face was priceless. What are you talking about? I'm speaking of granting you precisely what you desire, an opportunity to test your hypothesis. Our friends exchanged uneasy glances. The husband appeared to wish he could vanish into his chair, but I was not yet finished. You have been speaking of this for months now, of how much better single women have it, how liberated they are, how much more exhilarating their lives must be. Well, I believe it is time you experienced that freedom firsthand. She laughed nervously. You're being absurd. Am I? You just informed a table full of people that you believe single women have better lives than married ones. You have been saying this for months, so let us put it to the test. The waiter finally summoned the courage to approach our table. Once more, I requested another bottle of wine, knowing full well we would need it. What exactly are you proposing? She inquired, her voice now diminished and tentative. I am proposing we grant you a sample of that solitary existence you have been idealizing. I replied, for 45 days you may immerse yourself in the liberty you believe you are being denied. She gazed at me as though I had taken leave of my senses. Are you speaking of a separation? She asked, her tone incredulous. I am speaking of you obtaining what you desire, the opportunity to live as those unattached women you so deeply admire. No accountability, no concessions, no mutual duties, simply unadulterated freedom. Our companions were now observing us openly. The husband among them cleared his throat gently. Perhaps we ought to, he began, but I interjected. No, this is the ideal moment. For months, she has been building toward this, making it abundantly clear that she feels confined by our marriage, that she believes single women lead vastly superior lives. Well, now she has the chance to validate that belief. My wife's cheeks were flushed out. Whether from humiliation or fury, I could not discern. You are causing a spectacle, she murmured. I am making a statement, I countered. You wish to understand what it truly means to be single, to possess all that freedom you imagine you are missing. Then let us bring it to fruition. A prolonged silence enveloped us. Our friends appeared as though they wished to be anywhere else on earth. The couple at the adjacent table had abandoned any facade of disinterest and were listening intently. At last she spoke. Very well. If that is what you desire, it is not what I desire, I clarified. It is what you want. You have made that perfectly evident. I gestured for the bill, signaling that this discussion had concluded, though the true trial was only commencing. As we departed the restaurant, I could perceive the hushed murmurs from neighboring tables. Our friends assured us they would contact us later, but I understood they would not. No one wishes to become entangled in such turmoil. The journey home was conducted in silence, yet my thoughts were racing. She yearned to comprehend the reality of being single. She was on the verge of discovering it, and I sensed it would not resemble the paradise she had envisioned. The contest was about to commence, and I held every advantage. The following morning, she awoke anticipating that I would offer an apology, expecting me to claim that I had consumed too much wine and had not meant the words I had spoken. Instead, she found me already awake, sipping coffee, and perusing the news as though nothing of significance had transpired the previous evening. About last night, she began, taking a seat across from me at the kitchen table. What about it? I replied, you were upset. I understand. Perhaps I was a bit harsh. I glanced up from my phone. Harsh. You informed a room full of people that you believe single women are better off than married ones. That isn't harsh. That's honesty. She shifted uneasily in her chair. I didn't mean it in that way. Then how did you mean it? I pressed. For months, you've been expressing the same sentiment. How trapped you feel, how much freedom you believe missing, how much better your single friends have it. I was merely venting, she insisted. No, you were making a point and I heard you clearly. I rose and poured myself another cup of coffee. So, let's make this official. 45 days, you can experience all that freedom you've been talking about. She laughed, though it sounded strained. You can't be serious. I am entirely serious. You wish to know what it's like to be single. Here is your opportunity. This is absurd. She protested. We are married and you've made it evident that you view our marriage as a burden rather than a blessing. Then let us remove the burden. I sat back down and retrieved my phone. I've been contemplating this all night. Here is how it will work. Her eyes widened. You actually planned this out? Of course I did. Do you believe I would make such a decision without careful consideration? I opened the notes application on my phone. Rule number 1, as frequently as I would prefer, she lamented. Welcome to the reality of single life. The majority of unmarried individuals cannot financially sustain nightly social engagements, though Miranda appears to be an exception. She then noted that Miranda maintains a household with 3 other residents and operates an automobile older than some of the children in our neighborhood. To this observation, she offered no rebuttal. By the conclusion of the initial week, her expressions of dissatisfaction had become a daily occurrence. The residents had fallen into disarray due to her neglect of domestic upkeep. Her dietary habits had deteriorated because she found no motivation to prepare elaborate meals solely for herself. Exhaustion had become her constant companion as she sacrificed sleep to preserve her social calendar while still rising early for professional obligations. This arrangement is proving untenable, she declared that Thursday morning. Which aspect specifically? I inquired, glancing up from my novel. This entire undertaking, this experiment, or whatever designation you prefer to apply. It has merely been 9 days. I reminded her, you have spent months vocalizing your desire for this very independence. Certainly a proper evaluation requires more than a single week. I am not content. Are you presently more fulfilled than you were previously? She hesitated. That is irrelevant. On the contrary, that is precisely the relevant consideration. You consistently argued that unmarried women enjoy superior circumstances. Do you currently feel improved? It differs from my expectations. In what manner? She sank into the sofa with a weighted sigh. It's isolating, financially draining, and utterly exhausting. Fascinating. She had once envied were excellent company for a night out, but when she wished to remain indoors and watch films, they showed no interest. When she endured a difficult day at work, they were preoccupied with their own lives. Single individuals lack built-in emotional support systems. Miranda called on me again. She announced, setting down her phone. What was her reason this time? I inquired. She met someone online. They are going out tonight. Ah, the dating scene. How is that treating you? She cast me a sharp glance. I am not dating anyone. Why not? You are experiencing single life. Dating constitutes a significant aspect of that experience. She offered no reply, but I could discern the wheels turning within her mind. The prospect of actually dating other people, of beginning anew, of navigating the intricate games and pervasive uncertainties inherent in contemporary dating had evidently become an overwhelming burden for her. By the 3rd week, she was utterly distraught. The household had descended into chaos as she struggled to manage everything on her own. In her attempts to cook for one, she had scorched 3 consecutive dinners. Her garments lay in wrinkled disarray, for she continually postponed doing laundry until she had exhausted her supply of clean undergarments. Seated on the sofa amidst heaps of unfolded clothes, she lamented. "I despise this." "What specifically?" I inquired. "All of it?" she replied. "The relentless responsibility, the profound loneliness. Revert to our former routines," but I did not make it effortless for her. "I made dinner for both of us," she announced when I returned home from work. "That is considerate of you. However, I have already eaten." "What? When?" "I stopped by that new steakhouse downtown. I had an excellent meal and engaging conversation with the bartender." Her countenance fell. "You did not inform me you were going out. Single individuals do not check in with one another. Remember? Besides, you are still testing your theory." She set down the serving spoon with more force than necessary. "This experiment is foolish. Is it? Or are you merely realizing that you preferred the security of marriage to the uncertainty of single life?" "I have already admitted that. Admitting something and understanding it are different things." That weekend, she made plans with her friends but returned home early. I was on the couch reading. "How was your evening?" I asked without glancing up. "Boring." They only wanted to complain about their dating lives and discuss men who refused to commit. That sounds difficult. It made me realize something. What is that? They are not happy. They pretend to be, but they are not. They are perpetually searching for something someone experienced that will make them feel complete. I marked my page and looked at her. "And what about you?" "I had that. I had someone. He was someone who was fully committed to me. Someone who genuinely wished to build a life together. And yet, I spent months voicing complaints about our relationship." "Why do you believe you acted that way?" She settled on to the opposite end of the sofa. "I suppose I grew too comfortable. I assumed you would always be there for me. So, I focused on what I imagined I was lacking rather than appreciating all that I possessed." "That is a fair assessment. I observe my friends now. Trust me. I no longer trust words. I trust actions." "Then let me show you." The next morning she rose early once more. But this time she was not merely preparing breakfast. She was packing a lunch for me. "What is this for?" "Because I want to take care of you. Because I choose to." It was a small gesture, yet it meant everything. She was not doing it out of obligation, nor was she trying to win back my favor. She did it because she wanted to. That evening she carried a different energy, lighter, more purposeful. "I have been thinking, though," she said over dinner, "about all the things I complained about: the mortgage, the shared responsibilities, the routine. I framed them as burdens, but they are actually investments in what in us, in our future, in something stable and lasting." I smiled, now beginning to understand. I wasted so much time being ungrateful. "Not wasted. You learned from it." She reached across the table and took my hand. "Thank you for what? For not giving up on us, for making me face what I was truly asking for." Welcome to tomorrow is day 45. It is what happens then. Then we decide whether we wish to remain married or whether you wish to continue testing your theory. I already know what I want because I know what I want as well. Day 45 arrived and the atmosphere in the house felt different. She was awake before me, which was unusual. When I entered the kitchen, she had coffee ready and was seated at the table with a notebook. "What is all this?" I asked, pouring myself a cup. "I've been writing down everything I learned these past 45 days. She looked up from her notes. "Well, that I was selfish, that I was ungrateful, that I was so focused on what I thought I was missing that I completely ignored what I already had." I had taken a seat across from her. "Those are valuable reflections," I remarked. "I also wrote down what I want moving forward." "I'm listening," I said. "I want to be the kind of wife who builds you up rather than tearing you down. I want to appreciate the stability we share instead of complaining about our routine. I want to choose gratitude over entitlement." "Those are kind words," I replied. "I know you no longer trust words, but I needed to say them anyway." "Why?" "Because I need to hear myself say them. I need to acknowledge how wrong I was." She closed her notebook. "I also need to apologize." "Truly apologize for what specifically?" for making you feel as though you weren't enough, for making our marriage sound like a burden instead of a blessing, for embarrassing you in front of our friends, for taking your commitment for granted. I studied her face. She meant it. The defensiveness was gone, replaced by genuine remorse. I accept your apology just like that. The apology, yes, but apologies don't erase consequences. Her expression fell slightly. What kind of consequences? The kind where trust must be rebuilt, where respect has to be re-earned, where I need to believe that you have truly changed, not just that you're afraid of being alone. How do I do that? Time and consistency. Show me over months and not days that you choose this marriage. Show me that you value what we have rather than focusing on what you don't. She nodded. I can do that. We'll see. There's something else I want to tell you. What is it? I called Miranda yesterday. Oh, I told her I was done complaining about my marriage, that I had learned some difficult lessons about appreciating what I have. How did she take that? She became defensive. She started saying that I was settling, that I was giving up my independence. It was like listening to myself from a month ago. Anyway, I realized that misery loves company. She doesn't want me to be happy in my marriage because it highlights how unhappy she is being single. That is a mature observation. I have concluded those conversations. I am finished with the toxic single friends who wish for me to be as unhappy as they are. Good for you. I intend to surround myself with individuals who support our marriage, not those who undermine it. I was impressed. She was thinking beyond mere apologies. She was reflecting on the environment and influences that had shaped her attitude. What else did you discover? That independence and partnership are not mutually exclusive. I can be strong and self-reliant while remaining fully committed to our relationship. How so? I can pursue my own interests, achieve my personal goals, and maintain my identity, all while choosing to share my life with you. It is not a matter of one or the other. That is precisely correct. I also realize that security is not dull. It is invaluable. Knowing someone supports you unconditionally, that you are building a life together, and that you do not have to confront life challenges alone. That is not a prison. It is a privilege. She was understanding it, truly understanding it. So what do you desire? I asked. I want us. I want this marriage. I want to be your partner, not your burden. And if you said you needed more time to trust that I have genuinely changed, I would respect that. I would continue demonstrating day after day that I choose you. And if you expressed uncertainty about whether we could return to where we once were, I would ask if we might build something even better. That captured my attention. Better. Better because now I understand what I stand to lose. Better because I will no longer take it for granted. Better because I recognize the true worth of what we share. I lean back in my chair. Do you know what the most difficult part of these 45 days has been for me? What? Realizing how much happier I felt when I was no longer constantly reminded of how unhappy you were. It made me see how poisonous that dynamic had become. I am sorry. Do not be sorry. Be different. I will be. Prove it. She rose and walked around the table. I choose you not out of fear of being alone, but because I want to be with you. I choose our mortgage because it represents our home. I choose our routine because it is the life we have built together in the fabric of our shared existence. I embrace our mutual obligations, for they are investments in the future we are building together. And I choose you as well. Yet there is something you must understand. What is it? If you ever again give me cause to feel that I am an impediment to your aspirations or that our marriage weighs upon you as a burden, there will be no further 45-day trial. Instead, you will be presented with divorce papers. She nodded gravely. I understand. Do you truly? Yes. You will no longer endure being taken for granted. Precisely. Good. Because I too have no desire to take you for granted ever again. Then she kissed me and the sensation was transformed. Not born of desperation or apology, but imbued with gratitude and a sense of being chosen. So what happens now? She asked. Now we shall see whether you can honor the promises you have made. I will. We shall see. Yet for the first time in many months I found myself believing her. For months later, it became clear to me that she had meant every word she spoke. It was not merely the grand gestures, though those held significance. It was the subtle, everyday acts that persuaded me. The manner in which she would catch herself before voicing complaints about our daily routine and instead remark on the comfort of having stability. The way she referred to our mortgage payments as investments in our shared future rather than as financial burdens. How she spoke of our marriage to others. The true test arose when Miranda called, embroiled in turmoil over her latest romantic disappointment. "I don't know why I continue to try," Miranda lamented over the speakerphone. "Men are all alike. They only wish to play games." My wife glanced at me from across the kitchen table, then returned her attention to the phone. "Perhaps the issue does not lie with men, Miranda. Perhaps the issue is that you are seeking someone to complete you rather than someone to complement you." What is that supposed to mean? It means you are searching for an individual to resolve your problems instead of a partner with whom to share your life. There is a distinction easy for you to say if you are married. Yes, I am, and I am grateful for that reality each day. The conversation concluded shortly thereafter. Miranda had no interest in hearing about gratitude or with a sense of commitment. She sought someone to validate her grievances, but my wife was no longer willing to indulge in that role. "I'm proud of you," I told her after she ended the call. "For what?" she inquired. "For setting boundaries," I replied. "For refusing to engage in toxic conversations about marriage." "I learned from the best," she responded. "How so?" I asked. "You set boundaries with me," she explained. "You refused to tolerate disrespect. You showed me what self-respect truly looks like." She was correct. The experiment had not only imparted lessons about the contrast between single life and married life, but had also taught her about respect, boundaries, and consequences. However, the most significant transformation was in her approach to our relationship. Rather than dwelling on what she was sacrificing, she concentrated on what we were building together. Instead of viewing our shared responsibilities as burdens, she regarded them as investments. One evening, as we were tidying up after dinner, she said, "I have something to tell you." "What is it?" I asked. "I was offered a promotion at work." "That's wonderful. Congratulations. It would involve more travel and more time away from home," she continued. "And 8 months ago I would have leaped at the opportunity. I would have seen it as an escape, as freedom. But now, I see it as time spent away from what we have built together. Time away from our home, our routine, our shared life." "So you're turning it down?" I questioned. "I'm turning it down because I choose this," she affirmed. "I choose us. I choose what we have over what I might gain." "Are you sure?" "Completely. The promotion will come around again, but this what we have is what I want to invest in." That night, as we prepared for bed, she brought up the restaurant incident. "Do you remember that night at the Italian place?" "Hard to forget," I replied. "I was so angry at you for embarrassing me," she confessed. "And now I'm grateful. You could have allowed me to continue complaining, to keep taking you for granted. You could have suffered in silence until you could endure it no longer. Instead, you gave me precisely what I thought I wanted. You let me learn the hard way that I was wrong. It was a gamble." "What do you mean?" "I risked losing you. There was a possibility that you would experience the single life and conclude that you preferred it. Were you anxious about that?" "Initially, yes. But by the conclusion of the first week, I could perceive that you were grappling with it. By the end of the second week, I understood that you were learning. And by the close of the third week, I felt assured that you would choose us." "How could you be so certain?" "Because I know you more profoundly than you knew yourself, it seems." She laughed. "You manipulated me. I provided you with what you requested. There is a distinction. You are correct. I asked for something I did not truly desire, and you were discerning enough to allow me to realize that on my own. And now I never wish to take this for granted again. I want to choose you every day, not merely when circumstances are effortless." "Good. Because marriage is not about finding someone with whom you can coexist. It is about finding someone without whom you cannot endure. I cannot endure without you. I know. And I cannot endure without you either." 8 months later, she recounted the story to her sister, who was navigating her own marital struggles. "So what did you learn?" her sister inquired. that the grass is not greener on the other side. It is greener where you water it. That is the essence of it. That is everything. I devoted so much time observing what others possess that I neglected to cherish what I had. I spent so much energy fixating on what I was relinquishing that I failed to celebrate what I was gaining. And he simply allowed you to realize it. He compelled me to realize it. He granted me precisely what I claimed to desire and permitted me to uncover why I was mistaken. That is either remarkably intelligent or exceedingly hazardous. It was both, but it succeeded. Later that evening, as we lay in bed, she turned to me. Do you believe we are stronger now? Undoubtedly. Why? Because we have been tested. We have witnessed what we stood to lose, and we have chosen what we wish to retain. I love you. I love you too. Even after all that has transpired, especially after all that has transpired. She was silent for a moment. Thank you for not giving up on me. I nearly gave up on us. Thank you for not giving up on us. I almost did, but you did not. And that is what truly matters. I am grateful you helped me test my theory, and I am also glad I was wrong. So am I. The experiment concluded, yet its lessons endured forever. She came to understand that freedom without partnership is merely loneliness with additional complexities. I discovered that sometimes the most effective way to save a marriage is to risk losing it. Above all, we both learned that marriage is not about finding someone perfect. It is about finding someone worth fighting for, worth choosing, and worth building a life alongside. We chose each other not out of obligation, but because we genuinely wanted to. Thanks for watching. Do you think the husband's 45-day experiment was brilliant or too risky? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.